Hello, welcome back to my channel and welcome to a video that is a little bit different from the norm. I've got my star guest with me. I haven't seen you on the channel for a while, I don't think.
No, it's been, well, a bit on the cruise, on the waffle.
Yeah, but apart from that, she's been hiding away. She's always at work, always at work. We are here today to talk to you about something that is a little bit different, a little bit special. And I've got Tammy here because I've got a series of questions that I'm going to ask her to cover the subject. Natalie's lurking it. Shut up. Natalie's lurking in the background. So thank you, Tammy, for joining me on the channel. I've got a proper interviewing thing. I need a
Microphone.
I should have had a hairbrush.
Should have done, yeah.
We could have done a bit of Westlife in between. I've got this series of questions that were suggested. Starts with, can you tell us your name and a little bit about yourself?
Well, yes, I can, Carla. My name is Tammy, and I am your housemate.
Are you?
Your best friend. And we've known each other for nearly 20 years, mate.
Yes, I do know who she is. Yeah, she didn't need to introduce herself to me. So yeah, this is Tammy. She's my best friend and housemate. And as she said, nearly 20 years. Is it 20 years this year?
20 years this year, yeah.
20 years in, like, July, probably next month.
Next month.
Oh, we're having an anniversary.
You're having a birthday, so we'll cover it all with this.
Yeah,
thing.
So Tammy's here to tell us about something that is in the pipeline, in the calendar. But before we start that, I want her to tell us a little bit about your family life growing up.
So, well, when obviously I grew up in Leeds, that's where I'm originally from, with my mum and my elder sister. My parents had split up when I was very young, like less than 6 months old young. So we grew up, the three of us, till my mum remarried. And it was just sort of us. And then about, would it be 18 years ago, 19 years ago? 17 years ago. Somewhere
couple
around
years
there.
after I got to know you, yeah.
A couple of years after Carla and I became friends. I found out through Genes Reunited, actually, that I had a younger sister. And that also then led me to finding my dad and also another two sisters who were younger than me and an older brother and a sister, because my dad, bless him, he was a busy man. He was very busy. We'll leave it at that.
It's a friendly chat. Friendly chat.
So yeah, it turns out I had another 5 siblings that I hadn't known about previously. And yeah, we all sort of met up and yeah.
Yeah, so tell us a bit about when you first met. It's Scott that we're here to talk about today specifically, so that's the older brother. Tell us a bit about when you first met him and what it was like getting to know him and stuff.
It was great. We met in a place in town called Hoagie's, which is not there anymore. It used to be, it still was like one of the biggest divey places in Leeds, but it was always a good place to have a drink and a game pool. And we met up there and we kind of just hit it along. We didn't really have the same music tastes. We didn't really have the same interests. What we did have, however, in abundance was the same sense of humour. Yeah, we were both very sarcastically funny with things, and yeah, we really did. But we got along great. Yeah. So do you think did he feel like a brother? Do you think, how long before he felt like family rather than just? It was weird because obviously you don't. One of my friends at the time gave me some advice about my family when I was like, I don't know them, and it's weird. And she said to me, just get to think of them as new friends, and then work on the rest of the relationship from there. And so that's what we did. We started out sort of being friends, and then yeah, the kind of bonding sort of came after that. But yeah, I'd say out of all of us, I'm probably closest to Scott and then Kat. Which would have been, yeah.
So Scott and Donna
are
oldest two. Did they know about you, even though you didn't know about them?
Yes, they knew about me, but I didn't know about them. But because when my mum and dad split up, my mum gave me her maiden name. So they assumed that I'd have my dad's name, which I didn't. When they split, my mum changed my name back to her maiden name. So they didn't really know who I was. Ironically, I'd actually met their mum on several occasions. We went to the same Slimming World group, and she didn't realise who I was because I didn't have my dad's name.
So you actually became quite good friends with Carol.
Yes, yeah. But I'd never met her children. She used to talk about them all the time, and I was like, oh right, yeah.
And it's funny because I think Scott looked quite a lot like your dad.
Yes, Scott.
So I wonder if you had met them, whether you'd gone,
because you look like my dad.
Yeah, but then. Yeah. But then maybe at that point you didn't know what your dad looked like. Had you seen photographs?
No, not really. My mum didn't keep them.
He may have been a very friendly man, but he wasn't very popular. And so you had, how long did you and Scott, so about 17 years ago this was?
Yeah, it was, it must have been, I was 33 when we, so it would have been 17 years ago, I'm 50 now.
Yeah.
So yeah, it would have been 17 years, yeah.
Yeah, and you moved down here.
Well, before we moved down
10 years
here,
ago?
10 years ago, before we moved down there, we shared a house.
You did, yeah.
Yeah, we actually shared a house together when...
How did that go?
It was okay for a while, but like I say, we were very, very similar. So it was sometimes a bit, wasn't all great. But yeah, we actually did. We got along well enough to share
So
a
one
house.
of Tammy's traits is that I think you'll agree that you're not the tidiest of people.
No, I am not.
And yet Scott's messiness drove you around the bend.
Yes.
So isn't it funny how the things that we accept in our, I think also it had been Tammy's house that Scott moved into. So I think you've got that territorial thing. You've come in and you're making a mess in my house. And I think from Scott's point of view, it's like, but it's already a mess. Why are you bothering?
But yeah, I did seem to do an awful lot of tidying up when he was around.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we were very similar.
Yeah.
Very similar in personality, very similar in
and
mannerisms and things like that.
You may have noticed that Tammy is now talking about Scott in the past tense. So, fast forwarding to the beginning of this year, can you tell us?
Well, my dad was supposed to be going on holiday to Alicante for 3 weeks. He kind of goes out there every late January, early February, tries to get like a bit of winter sun. And so I spoke to him on the Saturday, told him to have a nice time. I'd speak to him when he got back. We went off to the Bristol-Newcastle game. The Bears were playing the Newcastle at the rugby, so we toddled off down to Ashton Gate, and then as we were coming back home, my phone started ringing. It was my dad, which I thought was a bit weird because he's supposed to be in Alicante, so I thought maybe he's ringing me to tell me I got there okay. But when I actually spoke to him, he was ringing me to tell me that Scott had a heart attack, and
At the age of 54?
He was 52.
52.
Yeah, it was a week before his 53rd birthday. He'd gone to, my dad had obviously cancelled his flight and gone to the hospital. And so Scott needed to have surgery. And when they was having the heart surgery, that's when they realised that the heart attack had been caused by blood clots. So they started a procedure for him to get rid of them.
To have them broken down.
To break
I think they
them down.
dispersed them in some way.
Dispersed, that was the word I was looking for, So they started to give him medication to disperse the blood clots. And he came home. He came home from the hospitals because I was going to go up.
They didn't keep him in very long. But
no, he was in for a few days.
Yeah, I think hospitals don't keep you in very long these days in case you get MRSA and all sorts of other stuff while you're there, don't
so he had the surgery. They sorted out the blood clots, or as they thought. And then, he came home. Dad then decided he was going to try and catch the last 2 weeks of his holiday, so he booked another flight out to Alicante, and then literally he landed there in the morning as they had to rush Scott back into hospital because he had a stroke. So the blood clots had built up a lot quicker than what people thought they would, and he was taken back into hospital. He'd had a big stroke. So so we were all kind of, that was a bit, because he'd just come home. It was so weird because he was like, yes, he's going to be fine, he doesn't need any, and he came home, and then literally within a day and a half he was back in the hospital again.
And you went up, didn't you?
I did. I went up to visit him. He was obviously struggling with symptoms of stroke. His speech was very slurred. His movements, he didn't have much movement in his arm. Some of his leg, he couldn't have much feeling in his leg. But
I think I remember you telling me he had a couple of swear words left in the bank there.
Oh yes, I've always had a couple of swear words in the bank, my brother. Always. Could be relied on for that. He wasn't very obviously thing, but he was keeping his chin up. So I went to visit him. He knew where we all were, but he would get confused about dates. And things. So his mum Carol, sadly she passed away a few years ago, and he said, I can't believe this has happened just after what happened to mum. And I was like, soon after mum. And I was like, okay, well, but he said, well, mum's just died. And I was like, yeah, okay. And the doctors told us not to correct him, just to not to confuse him anymore and cause him any more distress, for lack of a better word, just to have him believe. And then once he started on the road to recovery, we could, you know, correct him about stuff at that point. So he was very confused about timelines, and, you know, he would talk about coming back to the house, but he would talk about coming back to my house when we lived together, which was 12 years ago.
Yeah.
So he was very confused at times, but he knew who we all were. Yeah. So I was obviously in Bristol and working, so I would...
You went up and down a few
Up and down, yeah, every week. My dad was going to visit him every day, and it was a toll on my dad. My dad's 72 now.
Yeah.
And he was going in every afternoon, and sometimes in the evening as well, when nobody else could go and visit. So he was really...
Back and forward on the buses.
Backwards and forwards, yeah. He was really tired, and it was taking its toll on him. So I was trying to go up there to relieve some pressure on my dad, and... Yeah, and then he'd been in...
They began to talk about
They began to talk about rehab. Yeah, they started to talk about rehab. They said that they didn't know how bad things were going to be long term, but they needed to get the blood clots under control. But they were talking about rehab. So Dad was looking at rehabilitation facilities. There's one in Chapel Allerton that Dad was looking at for him. Because they said with his physical things from the stroke, his arm and his leg could be worked on with PT, but his confusion and his speech, because he was confused, they were worried that he would go to the wrong house or something. So they said that they were probably going to have
yeah, they didn't want him wandering around freely. He needed to be...
No, he needed to have somebody to take care of him. So yeah, we were in discussions with the doctor about that. But where he'd had so many blood clots and where they'd given him so much medication to disperse them, he looked bruised. I think it wasn't bruising, it was where his veins the blood had gone, and they'd gone dark purple, but he looked bruised. He looked like he was just covered in bruises.
Yeah.
And then as that sort of dispersed, as they were breaking down the blood clots, they realised that he had some swelling around his neck and his arm, mainly under his arm and his armpit. So they thought that it might be cancer. So they needed to do a biopsy. But to do the biopsy, they had to take him off the blood thinners for the blood clots, because obviously to do a biopsy they needed to cut into his skin to get some tissue out to test. And unfortunately, while he was off the blood thinners to have the biopsy, he had 2 more strokes. And then once we got the biopsy results back, they said they confirmed that it was cancer.
Okay, can you take a minute?
Yeah. Okay.
I can edit. And they gave a suggested timeline of 6 months, was it?
4 to 6 months.
4 to 6 months.
Yeah, but it turned out that the cancer wasn't just in his blood. It was actually got into his blood because he had lung cancer. And we went from, on the Friday, they told us it would be 4 to 6 months. And then on the Monday, I went back up to Leeds. Thank you. And the doctors obviously then told us that it was in his lungs, and then they were saying it was going to be possibly a maximum of sort of 2 to 4 weeks. So we had to make the decision as a family to basically DNR him. Because of the strokes, they said that if he...
Just in case, sorry, for viewers who might be in other countries, and I don't know if the same phrase applies everywhere. In the UK, a DNR is you sign a form to say do not resuscitate. If anything happens, they won't bring him back. Yeah.
Because at this point, with the strokes, the hospital had ruled him unfit to make his own medical decisions. So that fell to Dad to do that. So we had the meeting on the Wednesday, and Dad signed all the paperwork and everything, and that's when they said to us we were looking at weeks. I came home and was arranging with work to take some extended leave go back up to help Dad and to be there. But unfortunately, over the weekend, he developed an infection and he died on the Monday. 10 days after he got the diagnosis that he had lung cancer, he passed away.
So this entire timeline is a matter of weeks. From Scott's not very well. Scott's had a heart attack to Scott being
4
gone.
weeks.
4 weeks. 4 weeks. So as you can imagine, traumatic. Really traumatic. Yeah. So Tammy has said to herself, what can I do to pull something worth having out of this?
Yeah.
And what is the thing that you're pulling out of this? What is your decision?
I think when we lost Scott, I needed something, positive to focus on. So I looked and I've signed up to do the Bristol Shine Light.
Does it say on the t-shirt? Because I can never remember what it's called.
No, Shine Night Walk. Shine Night. There we go. Which is being on the 10th of October. Yeah.
There we go. For Cancer Research UK, the Shine Night Walk 2025.
Yeah. So yeah, it's 10k.
It is 10k.
But
I will be cheering her on from the sidelines.
It is. It's 10k. I was kind of like, I could have done 5 at something else, but I wanted to do something that pushed me as well to do something in his memory. So I'm doing 10k for Cancer Research in memory of Scott on the 10th of October.
And that's where you come in, because you must be wondering why we decided to share this with you. I have on my channel 12,000 plus viewers. Not everybody watches. I gain usually between 3 to 5k views on most videos. Some go as far as 6 or 10. If it looks like there's gossip in the title, it goes as far as 10. So maybe if I go, "Ooh, we've got a secret," you'll all have tuned in. If each of you gave £1, if the average of 5,000 people who watch this donated £1, would you be pleased with £5,000? Ecstatic. I know that some of you can do more than £1. I know that some of you can't manage £1. I know that some of you are watching this and going, I haven't got do you rub beans together? 2 pennies to rub together?
Yeah.
Where do beans come in?
8 pennies.
2 pennies. I know that some of you are struggling. I realise that some viewers don't have any spare cash. But if you are able to pop a little donation onto Tammy's fundraising page, I'm going to put it on the screen here, and I'm going to put all the bump in the description box below as well. Anything you can raise is going to...
It makes such a difference.
Yeah, it's going to make a difference to Cancer Research UK in general, but it's also going to make a difference to Tammy. It's going to make her feel that those 4 weeks, those 4 horrendous roller coaster weeks, because it was like, he's bad, he's going to be better, he's not going to be better, he is going to be better. It was.
Yeah. You've got 4 months, you've got 2 weeks, and then it's days. It just went so quick.
Anything that we can do to mitigate the trauma of those 4 weeks and to make you feel that Scott's memory has been served well, has got to be worth it, hasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. And I mean, she's doing well too. She's keeping her room ever so messy in his memory. So. So I'm going to put all of the information in the description box for you guys, and I really hope that you can if any of you are able to, every single penny will help. If Scott could see you do, there's nothing. If Scott could see you now, what would he say? And you go,
you go, what, 10k? Are you stupid? Why would you do this? But that is what he would.
That's brothers.
Say, yeah.
That's brothers.
And then probably tie my trainer laces together as I was trying to walk out the door, or something ridiculously childish, because that is who we were.
But you've got some donations already, haven't you?
I have, yeah. I've got, I think it's 152 already being put onto the page, and then I've got a sponsor form, because I know a lot of people that obviously don't do things like that, but we go to Old Lady Bingo. And
Lady Bingo, they don't do stuff online.
They don't do stuff online. So yeah, I've got
on the line, as my mother calls it,
on the tinterweb. So I've got some cash donations. I think at the moment I'm up to about just short of £400 with everything. So
my viewers, whenever I have done something like this, and I've not done it very many times over the years, but whenever I've put any kind of charity out there and said, "Can you guys help?" my viewers have always absolutely blown it out of the park, and I believe you can do it again. And as I said, we'll appreciate any and every pound that you can spare. Yeah. And also any messages on the fundraising page of support for Tammy.
Yeah, and if any of you are around in Bristol on the 10th of October and want to come and
tie your shoelaces
tie
together
your
in Scott's
shoelaces
memory.
together in Scott's memory, you are.
I will be supplying blister plasters.
Yep.
And water and a lot of support.
Yeah,
Ted wants to be in. There we go. Mum's crying. I saw Mum crying. I had to come and see Mum.
You did.
There you go.
Okay. I'm all right.
So yeah, that's the story. That's where we're at. That's where Tammy's at. She's going to walk 10k and then have a nice lie down afterwards. We did a little practice run on the ship. There was a charity fundraising walk on the ship. How many k was that?
That was 5.
That was 5. There you go. And you did that in less than an hour.
Less than an hour, yeah. I have been sort of going out walking, so I started the week. Go down, baby. At 1k twice a week, and I've been upping it every 3 weeks to another k.
To 1.1k.
1.1.
To one more step.
Yeah, just like, but yeah, so I'm up to 6 at the moment. I'm just about to start 6k. So I gave myself a bit of a break when we were on the cruise, and I did it once in the week instead of twice. But yeah, I've been doing that twice a week since March. Yeah, since March. So it's, yes, I am up to 6k. So I am. Didn't want to I don't think I could have just woken up on the 10th of October and gone, yay, off we go, come on. So I do need
bit of training and
a bit of training and a bit of working out. Having to go to the gym and do some on the incline, because when I looked at the walk, it was like, yes, I'll sign up to this. And then when I actually looked at the details.
Live in or near Bristol and you know the area, she's got to walk up Park Street.
I'm going to walk up Park
like
Street. So I was like, oh. Because I just went, oh yeah, this is good, I can do this gives me plenty of time to get, a little bit on, and then I looked at the route and I have to go up Park Street. So now when I go to the gym to do what I do in the gym, I have to put the treadmill on an incline so that for practicing getting up Park Street.
So, thank you so much for joining us for this one. Do visit the fundraising.
We can go fundraising.
I can't do it. You do it.
Fundraising
page. Do visit the fundraising page. It is linked in the comments. If you are able to spare anything, we would be very, very grateful for your contributions.
I really would.
And obviously, I will be filming Tammy going through this wonderful experience in Scott's memory.
Yeah.
And I will laugh on his behalf.
You can. Just don't tie my shoelaces together before I start, please. And it's going to be
Velcro trainers, mate. It's the way forward.
That is the way forward, I think, yeah.
Thank you for joining us for this one, and
Thank
we will see you
so
soon.
much.
Take care.
Thank
Bye
you.
for now.
Bye.